19 brutal deaths, 7 levels. Let's start right at the tip of this iceberg. Level 1. Rooftop meeting gone wrong. In The Departed, undercover officer Billy met Captain Keenan on the top of an old industrial building to share confidential information about the gang he had infiltrated. While they talk, Keenan gets a call warning him that the crew is already inside the building and moving up fast.
What?
We're followed.
By who?
By Costello's people.
Impossible.
Now one of the cops he's got on the inside tipped him.
To protect Billy's cover, he makes a quick choice. Billy must get out using the fire escape stairs while Keenan stays behind to stall the men coming for them. Keenan moves down from the roof to one of the upper floors where the gang finally corners him. They demand the name of the mole inside their operation. He refuses, which removes any chance of him leaving that room alive. One of them shoves him towards a window and sends him crashing out of it. As Billy escapes down the exterior stairs, Keenan's body suddenly drops past him and hits the pavement below. A fall from that height creates violent, immediate force on impact. In real medical cases, that kind of rapid deceleration can cause catastrophic head trauma, major organ damage, and multiple fractures long before a person can react.
What's going on? I came to meet you.
Get in the back! Get in the back!
I don't know, Sarge, but I got 4 armed men right out front. You want us to pursue?
No, do not pursue. Stay in the car.
Keenan's death wipes out the only person who understood Billy's position and guided the entire operation. Losing him throws the investigation into chaos and leaves Billy without a safe way back to his own department. Level 2. Struck by a bow. How did Lily go missing without a single person noticing?
So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy your blind date. If you would, I need the ladies to go to the left and the men to the right. Ladies one side, men the other.
In Valentine, Lily walked into a large art exhibit filled with screens, mirrors, and tight walkways. The repeating visuals made the layout hard to read, which caused her to drift away from her friends without realizing she was alone. As she tried to find her way through the display, an arrow suddenly hit her in the stomach. An injury in this area can cause internal bleeding and a rapid loss of strength, which makes running or even maintaining balance much harder. She turned and spotted a person in a Cupid mask standing between the screens with a bow in hand. The masked figure fired again, hitting her a second time in the torso. That hit pushed her through a door and onto a high landing with a railing. From there, the killer took aim and fired a third arrow. The shot struck her and finally knocked her backward over the edge. She fell several stories into an open dumpster below. The lid closed on its own, which hid her body from anyone still inside the building. In reality, a fall from that height can cause severe head injuries, spinal damage, and broken bones due to the force of the impact. Because that fall left no visible trace with her hidden inside the dumpster and no one heard much, her friends assumed she had gone on a work trip to Los Angeles. That misunderstanding delayed any concern and turned her death into a disappearance with no immediate clues. I mean, aside from all the arrows pin-cushioned in her. One swing, no mercy. In Apocalypto, Jaguar Paw finally stops running and faces the raider who killed his father. The fight takes place in thick jungle mud, which forces both men into close range. When they rush toward each other, the raider swings his weapon and Jaguar Paw drops low to slip under it. He grabs a wooden club from a downed soldier lying on the ground. Before the raider can turn around, Jaguar Paw slams it into his skull. Blood spills from the raider's head as he drops to his knees. Jaguar Paw steps in and swings again, this time driving the club upward into the raider's jaw. An upward hit can send force back to the base of the skull and upper spine, where the body controls breathing and basic movement. When this area takes a strong impact, the body can shut down almost instantly. Thus, the raider collapses on the spot and doesn't get up. The fight ends, and just like that, a wooden club that had once injured others ultimately stopped the man who carried it. A deadly dinner. In Law-Abiding Citizen, dinner in Clyde Shelton's cell looked harmless, but it wasn't. He had secured that steak through one of his deals with the prosecutors, and it was all he needed to initiate his master plan.
So for lunch, I would love a 20-ounce porterhouse steak. Medium, maybe a little bit charred, with all the trimmings. Pommes frites, asparagus, buttersquash.
Once the food is placed in front of him, Clyde keeps the mood relaxed. He offers some of the steak and lets his cellmate settle into the moment. The quiet setup works in his favor because a calm room makes the next move easier to control. The real threat is the T-bone itself. When the bone is snapped cleanly, it forms a pinpoint edge strong enough to pierce soft tissue. Clyde breaks it, grips the sharp end, and holds it like a small improvised blade. With the weapon formed, the only thing left was choosing where to land the strike. He lunged forward and drove the bone into the side of the man's neck. Major vessels run close to the surface there, including the carotid artery and jugular vein. Damage in that region caused rapid blood loss, a sharp drop in blood pressure, and collapse within seconds without treatment. As a result, the man went down almost immediately. Clyde stayed put. He waited for the guards to respond, knowing this act forced the prison to move him into solitary confinement. The kill looked sudden, but he murdered his cellmate because he wanted to be sent to solitary. There, he had already built a tunnel network years earlier, and it was the private base he needed to keep his campaign going. Traumatic office job. In the Belko experiment, office workers learn that the safety implants at the base of their skulls are tied to a set of rules.
In 8 hours, most of you will be dead. Your chance of survival increases by following my orders and excelling at the tasks I place before you.
They were told the implants were simple tracking devices meant to protect them from kidnappings in Colombia. But in reality, the devices were planted by the people running the experiment for full remote control. The first rule was that 2 people must be within 30 minutes or 4 implants will be triggered instead. The demand feels impossible, so the group argues, hesitates, and assumes nothing will actually happen. And because no one acts, the time runs out. Right after the timer ends, one implant signals a sharp beep, and a split second later, it detonates inside the person's skull, dropping them instantly. Across the building, 3 more workers collapse as their devices go off the same way. The implants were introduced as harmless trackers, but the blasts reveal they're placed close enough to the brain to function as internal off switches. From a medical standpoint, that location explains the immediate collapse. A blast that close to the skull creates a sudden pressure wave inside the brain, damaging regions that control consciousness, breathing, and circulation. When those areas are disrupted all at once, the body shuts down too quickly for any first aid to matter. What makes this moment so disturbing is how little action it takes to kill. No one in the room moves, no weapon is visible, and no attacker enters the building. A remote operator simply triggers the implants, and people die where they stand. If moments where death hits without warning keep you watching, stick around as someone turns liquid nitrogen into a weapon. Level 3. Too cold to scream. In Jason X, Jason is frozen on Earth and centuries later brought onto a research ship as a specimen. His body seems harmless, so a scientist is left alone to examine him in a lab equipped with medical tools and an open sink filled with liquid nitrogen.
Subject discovered in complete cryosuspension. Okay, you guys, you know what? Just get the hell out of here and come back when you're more focused.
You serious?
Yes, just go.
The moment she turns her back, the specimen stops being the test subject. Jason forces the scientist's face down into the open sink of liquid nitrogen right beside the table. Now, liquid nitrogen is about negative 196 degrees Celsius, that's negative 321 degrees Fahrenheit, and is cold enough that exposed skin can freeze solid at the surface within seconds, which turns it rigid and pale. When her face hits the surface, the cells begin forming ice crystals internally, locking the tissue in place and shutting down sensation as the nerves freeze. Jason lifts her out and slams her head onto the steel counter, and the brittle tissue breaks on contact. In real-world physics, the whole head would not shatter into neat chunks like in the movie, but bone and tissue that cold would still suffer massive fractures from a blow that hard, destroying essential brain structures almost instantly.
I'm putting us on lockdown. Attention, we have a hostile on board. Repeat, we have a hostile on board.
Her body falls to the floor and Jason walks out without even looking back. Man, that's cold. Locker Room Mania. In My Bloody Valentine, a small group slips into the Henninger mine to keep their Valentine's party alive. While the others stay in the main room, Sylvia steps into the adjacent locker area where miners' uniforms hang from an overhead rail and block clear line of sight. When her boyfriend leaves for a minute, she becomes the only person in a space crowded with swinging gear, metal fixtures, and steam.
Every February 14th, Harry comes back to town, his pickaxe stained with blood, waiting in the shadows of the Henniger mine, just for someone to kill, should they not heed his warning.
That isolation shifts the room against her. The hanging uniforms begin to move along the rail, dropping and swaying around her until the space feels like a maze of bodies and shadows. Each swing closes off another exit and forces her deeper into the cluster of gear. But in the next moment, the danger stops being in her head. The miner steps through the hanging coveralls, grabs her by the head, and drives her backward onto a protruding water pipe. The pipe enters through the back of her skull, a blow that would crush bone and disrupt the brain regions responsible for consciousness and breathing. Direct trauma like this leaves no real chance of survival, even with immediate medical help. While she hangs on the pipe, the killer turns the valve. Water rushes through the line and into the opening created by the impact, filling her airway and forcing it back out through her mouth. Medically, that surge of water through her throat and nasal passages would make her drown quickly and add more damage to her lungs and brain, even though the impalement alone was already unsurvivable.
He's dead. He's dead. Come on. Come on.
Hey, come on.
Come on, he's dead. Come on.
Her body remains fixed to the wall, the uniform still swaying around her. The mine becomes the weapon, and the locker room turns into a display meant to be found, turning ordinary industrial fixtures into elements of a staged execution. Elevator to hell. In Dressed to Kill, Kate leaves a man's apartment and heads down in the elevator. When she realizes her wedding ring isn't on her finger, she goes back up to retrieve it. That quick detour places her in the elevator again, at the exact time the attacker reaches her floor. As she starts to ride down, the elevator stops early and the doors open to a tall blonde person in dark glasses. He enters and stands directly in front of her, and the doors close, leaving Kate pressed into a space she can't slip out of. And the moment he steps in, the whole ride takes a darker turn. The attacker pulls out a straight razor and slashes toward her neck and upper chest. In such tight quarters, Kate has no angle to move around the attacker or reach the doors. The blade targets areas where major blood vessels run close to the surface. Cuts there can cause rapid blood loss, a sudden drop in blood pressure, and loss of consciousness within seconds because the brain is deprived of oxygen almost immediately. The elevator keeps descending while she weakens, turning the ride into a sealed attack with no interruption. By the time the doors open in the lobby, she collapses onto the floor, unable to stand. The attacker steps out and walks away. A girl sees Kate on the floor and also catches the killer's reflection in the elevator mirror. And since she's the only person who sees him, she's likely the next one who will be going down. Sweet karma. In Monster Party, the Dawson mansion slips into chaos fast, and Casper and Alexis race toward any exit they can find.
Don't do this. Please, please don't fucking do this, Alexis, please.
Just shut the fuck up, Casper.
Y'all got 30 seconds. You're not like him. You're not like any of them. 20 seconds, bitch. Come on, Alexis, please, please don't fucking do this, please.
Cameron steps in front of them with a running chainsaw, grinning like he's the main event. The noise and his reckless confidence are all meant to freeze them in place. To Cameron, fear means total control, so he charges straight at them without guarding his lower body. That gives Casper an unexpected opening. Thus, instead of backing away, he steps in and swings his blade low across Cameron's ankle. The strike cuts through his foot and Cameron drops immediately. Losing that foot takes away his balance and the chainsaw slips out of his hands. A real injury like that cuts blood vessels in the lower leg, causing heavy bleeding and pushing the body into shock. Now the chainsaw has no owner and the person closest to it is Cameron himself. And that still-running saw lands on his chest. A chainsaw built to cut through wood digs into soft tissue even faster. On the torso, a spinning chain can tear through muscle, ribs, and organs within seconds. If it hits the lungs, heart, or major blood vessels, blood loss is so rapid that the body shuts down almost immediately. Cameron dies under the same weapon he used to scare everyone. The scene hits because his own charge creates the exact angle that kills him. For Casper and Alexis, it's a brutal moment, but it opens their path forward. One of the mansion's biggest threats takes himself out. Level 4. A bumpy fall. In a 1940s crime movie full of guns and gangsters, the nastiest hit comes from a staircase and a wheelchair. In Kiss of Death, people on the street say Pete Rizzo is the snitch, even though he's already out of town.
Rizzo drove the car. There's no one to identify him except Nick here. That won't stand up.
That lie sends Tommy Udo to the Rizzo apartment to fix things. When he walks in, he doesn't find Pete. He finds Pete's elderly mother in a wheelchair, nervously trying to cover for her son.
Your friend Peter?
Yeah. Where's the squirt?
Not home. Come home late tonight, maybe. After dinner sometime, maybe.
Where'd he go to?
Peter? How I know where Peter go? Uptown, downtown, baseball game, anywhere.
Her shaky answers tell Udo that Pete ran and left her behind. That means she is the only target in the room. The space is small, she can't stand, and Udo circles her, grinning. In an instant, he moves behind the chair, pulls an electrical cord from the wall, and wraps it around the old woman so her arms can't move. She grabs a rail, can't slide out of the seat, and he keeps tightening the cord. When she's tied down, he wheels her out of the apartment and straight toward the stairs. A wheelchair on stairs is risky even for a young, strong person. For an older woman with weak bones and slow reflexes, one bad fall can be enough to end everything. And still, Udo gives the chair a hard shove without hesitation. It tips forward and crashes down the steps, each bounce throwing her back into the seat. The final impact at the bottom slams her head, neck, and spine. A fall that can cause major head injury, a broken neck or back, and heavy internal bleeding all at once. Surviving it was almost impossible, and the film treats her as dead the moment the chair hits the floor. Udo doesn't stay to check, he simply walks away. Stranded in a ski lift. In this movie, Death, the real killer is fear. In Frozen, no, not that one, just let it go, 3 friends get stuck on a ski lift after the resort closes for the week.
It's not about the money. We got weather coming in. We're trying to clear the mountain. There's nothing I can do.
Okay. What if we run straight down like the quickest run ever?
We'll be like wicked fast. We give you $100.
come on.
The chair hangs high over the slope, the staff goes home, and nobody knows they're still up there. When they realize the resort won't open again for days, the situation shifts from an annoying delay to real danger. The cold chips away at them, wind keeps hitting their faces, their fingers go numb, and every minute sitting still makes frostbite and hypothermia more likely. While they argue about what to do, they spot movement below and realize there are wolves on the ground. Now they're stuck between two bad options: freeze in the air or drop into a place where predators are already waiting. Dan can't handle the idea of slowly freezing to death. He decides someone has to try to reach help, even if it means jumping.
Worst case, I could just jump. I've done that before. It's not so bad.
He hangs from the front bar of the chair to shorten the fall, but still hits the hard snow on his feet, and both his legs break on impact. And when he tries to stand, they fold, dropping him back into the snow. He made it off the lift, but he couldn't move, and the fresh blood on the snow started drawing the wolves in. Looks like he's out of the frying pan and into the fire, but with ice and wolves. Every small attempt to crawl leaves clear marks behind him. The wolves moves closer and start to circle. The pack finally closes in and dragged him apart in the snow while his friends stayed stuck above, listening until his screams stopped. None of them jumped after seeing what waited on the ground. Later, Joe tried to escape by climbing along the cable to a support tower, reached the slope, and was caught by the same wolves off-screen. Parker was the only one who eventually made it down the mountain alive. A baby's boot. In Dragged Across Concrete, Kelly Summer is a bank teller and a new mom on her first day back after maternity leave. She feels guilty about leaving her baby, so she keeps his tiny boot in her hand for comfort. Her coworkers welcome her, ask about her son, and try to make her smile. And for a short while, it feels like a regular, slightly awkward day at work. However, that mood soon breaks when armed robbers enter the bank and take over. They point their guns, force everyone to the floor, and warn them not to move. The lobby goes quiet because everyone is hoping to get through this by staying still. A coworker near a computer decides to risk sending a quick message for help. Kelly is close to that desk, and when she shifts near the same spot, the gunman notices her instead. He shoots her hand from close range, and that kind of hit can crush the small bones in the palm and tear nerves and tendons, so her fingers stop working and she drops to the floor in shock. Her hand fails her, so she puts everything she has left into the one thing it can still hold. Kelly lifts the booty and looks up at the masked man. Her voice is weak but clear as she asks him to give it to her son. For a brief moment, it seems like the men might listen.
Will you make sure my baby gets this? His name is Jackson.
They do not. The gunman raises his rifle and shoots her in the head at point-blank range. At that distance, bullets to the skull destroy the brain almost instantly. There's no time for rescue and no real chance to save her. Her body falls, and the tiny booty hits the floor beside her. Boiled in love. In Halloween 2, Karen Bailey accidentally turns Haddonfield Memorial into Michael's hunting ground.
You were late again tonight. Just 15 minutes? That could be the difference between life and death for one of those kids.
She shows up late for her shift and buzzes the back door to be let in. Security unlocks it for her, which lets Michael Myers slip through right behind her. That one move leaves the entire building exposed without anyone realizing it. Later, as Karen and paramedic Bud slip into the hydrotherapy room for a break, assuming the hospital is quiet and safe, Michael reaches the control booth behind the glass and turns up the temperature. Steam thickens, the water grows hotter than the equipment is meant to handle, and Karen starts to feel it. She thinks it's just a bad setting, so Bud goes to fix it, which gives Michael a chance to attack him. Since Bud never returns, Karen assumes he is still dealing with the controls, unaware he's already dead, and she is now completely alone. When a gloved hand settles on her shoulder, she assumes it's Bud's. She leans into the touch and kisses the fingers before looking up and seeing Michael's blank mask. He forces her head under the near boiling water. At that heat, skin burns almost immediately. The nerves in the face fire intense pain, and with her mouth and nose submerged, she inhales scalding water. That combination burns the throat, blocks her ability to breathe, and overwhelms her quickly. She breaks the surface a few times, gasping through the steam, but each attempt ends as Michael shoves her back under. Every plunge deepens the burns and gives her less oxygen. The therapy tub, meant for healing, becomes the exact thing that kills her. When Michael lets go, she collapses onto the floor. No one nearby hears anything, and she dies alone behind a closed hydrotherapy door. In the meantime, Michael simply walks out and moves deeper into the hospital, looking for his next target. A yearbook joke. In this scene, the yearbook joke, most likely to eat anything, is about to get way too real. Most Likely to Die is a reunion slasher where a masked killer called The Graduate picks people off using their old yearbook superlatives. Lamont, one of the classmates who is done waiting to die in that house, decides his best shot is to leave everyone behind and head down the mountain road to find help.
What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're in trouble. Yeah, no, all the fuel lines have been cut.
What about Ray's? No.
On the road, he spots his classmate DJ lying there, bruised and shaken. DJ says Ray attacked him and left him there, so Lamont believes he has found another victim, not another threat. That tiny bit of relief is all it takes for his guard to drop.
What the hell happened? Simone's... No. See, my car ran out of gas about 10 miles back. Somebody cut my fuel line.
DJ uses that moment and suddenly pulls out a utility blade, slicing across Lamont's forehead. The cut floods his eyes with blood, sending him in shock as DJ knocks him to the ground. He keeps hitting Lamont until he stops fighting back. That betrayal makes the attack feel personal, not like a quick slasher hit. Once Lamont is down and bleeding, DJ doesn't walk away. It turns out DJ is the Graduate, and he decides to make Lamont's old most likely to eat anything joke real. DJ rams a broken piece of hockey stick into Lamont's mouth. He forces it deeper until it jams his tongue and throat and crushes the top of his airway. In real life, something like that can tear the tongue and soft palate, rip tissue in the back of the throat, and start choking a person on even before they stop moving. As Lamont struggles to breathe around the wood in his mouth, DJ leans in and drags the blade across his throat. A cut there can slice through major vessels in the neck and open the airway from the outside, which leads to rapid blood loss and a very fast drop in consciousness. Lamont's body jerks for a moment and then goes still. Level 5. Kitchen Blender. In Your Next, the evil mastermind gets taken out by a kitchen blender. Crispian brings his girlfriend Erin to a family dinner at his parents' house, but what she doesn't know is that Crispian and his brother Felix have secretly arranged for animal-masked killers to wipe out the family so they can take the inheritance.
My dad retired from KPG last year and he got an insane severance package.
So your parents are pretty loaded, right?
Felix stays in the house with his girlfriend Z to ride out the attack, while Crispian slips away before the violence starts so he doesn't have to see what he set in motion. The problem for them is Erin. She's the outsider at the table who grew up in a survivalist compound, so she reacts faster and hits harder than anyone expected. She uses whatever is in the house as a weapon and takes out most of the masked attackers herself, which flips their carefully planned massacre into a fight they are losing. While the plan is falling apart, Erin overhears Felix and Z arguing with the killers about money and how the job should end.
My brother, more than once. You were supposed to do that. For all the good you guys did in here, you could have stayed outside with your crossbows.
So she realizes the real danger is not just the men in masks, but Felix and Z behind them. From that moment, she stops treating them as allies and starts treating them as enemies. As the hired killers die, Felix and Z realize Erin is the last obstacle between them and the money, so they decide they have to kill her themselves. They follow her into the kitchen expecting an easy finish, I don't know why, but Erin uses a tight space to turn the fight around. She gets Felix on the floor and leaves him badly hurt and exposed. Seizing that opportunity, she grabs the blender from the counter and slams it onto his head, switches it on, and the impact is instantly fatal. Felix jerks and convulses on the floor while the blender keeps going. As his body goes still, Z lunges at Erin and takes a knife straight down into the top of her head. Moments later, Felix's phone rings on his body and Erin answers. On the line, Crispin talks calmly about how the inheritance plan should wrap up, still thinking he's speaking to Felix. So, in one call, she hears that he helped set it up and walked away before the killing started.
Hey, Felix, is it all done in there or what? You know I'm a pacifist. I can't deal with the violent stuff. I saw my signal came back. Is it over?
When Crispin finally comes back to the house and tries to justify sacrificing his family for money, Erin ends the plan by stabbing him and leaves him to die on the kitchen floor with the others. Looks like the only thing he's inheriting is a space in the family plot. Fight to kill the immortal. In Marked for Death, retired DEA agent John Hatcher, the main lead, came looking for peace and instead found his old neighbor ruled by a Jamaican dealer called Screwface. People there said he had 2 heads and 4 eyes and can't be killed, so his reputation scares most people into line before he even shows up.
The Santero told me that you are the one with the most frightening powers. This man is using the power of the spirits to do very evil things. Will you help me?
Hatcher seems to finish him in Jamaica by cutting off his head, and for a moment it feels like the nightmare is over. When Hatcher returned to Chicago, that belief fell apart. He brought Screwface's head and sword to the posse to prove their leader was dead. And while they stared at it, a living Screwface stepped up behind Charles and stabbed him in front of everyone. The gang thought they had just witnessed a resurrection, but it was really the twin brother. Gunfire broke out, Max took a hit, and Hatcher was forced into Screwface's nightclub with the last brother chasing him. The final fight happened on the upper level of that club, on metal walkways above an open elevator shaft. Hatcher cut through the last henchman until it was just him and Screwface, both holding swords near the edge. Screwface moved fast and almost beat him, but Hatcher caught an opening and sliced him across the face. As Screwface stumbled, Hatcher blinded him with a forceful move. That kind of damage can burn the eyes and crush the nerves behind them, which meant sudden blindness and extreme pain. Screwface lashed out, but he couldn't see the edge of the platform or where Hatcher actually was. Blinding him still didn't stop him though, so Hatcher took it one level further. He lifted Screwface over his knee and injured his back. Screwface went limp, but Hatcher still refused to risk him getting up again. He dragged the body to the top of the shaft and threw him in. Screwface fell into the open shaft and died on impact. Up top, the shooting stopped, Charles was dead, Max and Hatcher were still standing, and both Screwface brothers were finally gone. Doctor turned test subject. In The Abominable Dr. Phibes, a surgeon ends up being treated like a patient, with the only outcome being 8 full jars of blood. Disfigured organist and theologian Dr. Anton Phibes hunted down the surgeons he blamed for his wife Victoria's death, killing each one with a murder themed after the biblical 10 plagues of Egypt. Anton Phibes targeted Dr. Longstreet, one of the doctors from Victoria's failed operation, who lived comfortably in his London flat. He didn't realize Phibes had assigned him the plague of blood. Phibes' version of the first Egyptian plague, reimagined as a slow surgical draining instead of a simple stabbing or shooting. This kill relied on patience rather than speed. Phibes reaches him by sending his silent assistant, Volnavia, She arrives dressed to catch his eye and guide him toward a chair.
I'm Dr. Longstreet, you know. Who's this?
The moment she gets him to relax, she ties him in place under the guise of playfulness, and by the time he notices the restraints, he's already positioned for what comes next. Once he's tied down, 5 steps forward and slips a needle into Longstreet's arm. A tube leads from the needle to a row of empty jars beside the chair. When the blood begins to flow, Longstreet is wide awake and fully aware of what he is watching. As the jars fill, his body reacts. Losing blood lowers pressure in the system, so his heart works harder while getting less oxygen to the brain. That drop leads to his thoughts getting blurred, his strength fading, and his posture collapsing. Each jar marks another step toward a point he cannot recover from. Once all 8 are full, Longstreet is unconscious and does not survive. His housekeeper finds him dead, still tied to the chair with jars arranged beside him, and calls the police. Inspector Trout sees the scene for himself and finally understands that someone is working through the surgeons with a clear pattern based on the 10 plagues. And every one of them is going to pay the price. The Vincent price. Into the wine presser. In Heart Eyes, a romantic winery visit turns deadly when Adeline Garrett and her partner Patrick cross paths with the Heart Eyes.
Adeline Delilah Garrett, you're smart, you're beautiful, and perhaps most important of all, you make me think. You're my person, and I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?
They arrive expecting a quiet day together, not knowing the killer has been targeting couples in safe places. The threat becomes real the moment Patrick is struck on the head by a crossbow bolt. He drops instantly, and that shock shifts Adeline from enjoying a proposal to fighting to stay alive. She now knows the killer is close, armed, and willing to attack without warning. Panic pushes her into the production area as she searches for anything solid enough to shield her. The cylindrical wine press looks sturdy, so she climbs inside and pulls the hatch toward her, hoping the thick metal will protect her from another bolt. That choice traps her instead of saving her. The killer reaches the press, locks the hatch from the outside, and activates the machine. A wine press applies steady pressure to grapes, and once the cycle begins, the walls inside the chamber start closing in. The shrinking space puts crushing force on her body. Her chest loses the room it needs to expand, causing breathing to become harder, and as the press tightens, the pressure becomes overwhelming and leaves her unable to move or draw enough air, turning the machine itself into the thing that ends her life. By the time the press completes its cycle, Adeline is dead, though she might pair well with a nice cheese, I suppose. Level 6. Dog food. In Sin City, Marv was a scarred ex-con and Basin City's toughest survivor, and the only person who ever showed him real kindness was a woman named Goldie. Marv spent the entire film tracking Kevin, a quiet who Goldie, a crime that instantly turned Marv's life into a single mission of revenge.
All I've got is a face and a name. I'll see you later, Kevin.
This used to consume his victims, while powerful people protected him, which made him feel untouchable. Marv's search led him to a remote farm owned by Cardinal Rourke. Inside, he saw signs of dismembered victims and understood that Kevin had been killing and eating women with Rourke's full support. When the corrupt cops on the farm shot Lucille in front of him, even after she identified herself as police, Marv realized no legal system would ever touch Kevin. That realization pushed him from simple revenge into a more personal kind of punishment. He returned to the farm with the women of Old Town, who created enough chaos for Marv to reach Kevin without being stopped. Kevin fought with knives and moved with unnatural speed, but Marv's strength and rage finally overwhelmed him. Marv knocked him down, chained him upright, and made sure he stayed alive and helpless. Keeping him conscious was part of the point. Once Kevin was restrained, Marv started hurting him slowly instead of ending things quickly, making sure Kevin could not move or fight back at all. The damage is severe enough that most people would black out, but Kevin stays silent through almost all of it, which makes the entire scene feel even more disturbing. When Kevin is left completely helpless, Marv even brings Kevin's dog over and lets it turn on its own owner. The moment is disturbing not just because of the pain, but because Kevin stays awake and aware while his own dog is used against him. Kevin stayed awake and breathing while the dog fed, never giving Marv the scream he expected. After the dog caused enough damage, Marv ended Kevin's life, a final act to guarantee Kevin would never harm anyone again. Deadly yoga session. In a Violent Nature shows Johnny existing as a buried corpse under the collapsed fire tower along with a locket meant to keep him at rest.
Johnny fell from the tower. His neck snapped as soon as it hit the ground. And the men freaked out, so they put one of the firefighter masks on him to make it look like he was playing up there by himself and tripped and fell.
The wreckage covered both his body and the locket until one of the campers dug into the rubble and spotted it. When that camper walked away with the locket as a souvenir, it broke the seal on Johnny's grave and released him. As a result, Johnny rose and began walking through the woods toward the group that disturbed him. Aurora was part of that group. Wanting some time alone, she headed to a cliffside to stretch and breathe. That placed her directly in Johnny's path. While she focused on her yoga, he approached from behind with a chained drag hook. By the time Aurora sensed another presence, he was already within striking distance. He drives the hook into her from behind, pinning her in place. Medically, a hit like that can cause serious internal damage, leaving her badly hurt and unable to pull free, while Johnny keeps complete control of the chain. What made it even worse was what he did next. Johnny braces himself and hauls on the chain until her body twists into an impossible shape, making it very clear there's no chance she will survive. Once he's done, he lets her hang for a moment on the hook, then pushes her over the cliff as if it meant nothing. Aurora's body vanishes into the drop below, and Johnny continued on his path, already moving toward his next victim. The Bolito Attack. In The Counselor, Westray is a man who connects the lawyer to the Mexican cartel. He keeps warning the council that once you step into their world, you don't get to pick how it ends.
Maybe I should tell you what Mickey Rourke told What's-His-Face. That's my recommendation anyway, Counselor. Don't do it.
This arson is a serious crime.
Yeah. And so is this.
Early on, Reiner, a flashy nightclub owner who pulled the counselor into the deal in the first place, tells a story about a cartel tool called a bolito, a motor-driven loop of wire that tightens around a person's neck until it cuts through.
And it's in a loop. And you come up behind the guy, and you drop it over his head. And you pull the free end of the cable tight and walk away. No one ever even sees you. And pulling the cable activates the motor, and the noose starts to tighten, and it continues to tighten until it goes to zero.
Cuts the guy's head off.
Yeah, well, he can.
There's nothing he can do.
No.
At that point, it sounded like a dark cartel legend, not something that would ever touch Westray himself. The real trouble starts when the cartel's shipment in the septic truck is hijacked. Malkina, Reiner's girlfriend, who quietly watched every move of the deal, secretly arranges the theft for her own gain. But the cartel treats everyone connected to the deal as guilty. The counselor, Reiner, and Westray. Once they make that decision, every name on that list shifts from business partner to target. Westray understood the danger faster than the counselor. Once he heard that people tied to the deal were being killed and that his own name was exposed, he called the counselor, told him to run, and set up his own escape. He went to London, moved his money, and tried to vanish into the crowds, but the cartel already knew his location, so every precaution he took still happened within their reach. The Bolito attack showed how little those precautions mattered. Westray walked near a set of outdoor steps when a man brushed past him and, in the same motion, slipped a thin metal loop around his neck and pulled it tight. The loop was indeed the bolito Reiner had described. The small motor inside the bolito starts pulling the cable tighter. As he struggles and tries to cut it away, the cable only tightens more, hurting his hands and neck without giving him any slack. Every second drains his strength, yet the loop keeps closing. The pressure around his neck makes it harder for blood and air to reach his brain. His body starts to give out, and the device keeps tightening until it kills him. In the end, the hitman simply walked away, leaving Westray's body on the steps, proving that working with the cartel is no way to get ahead in life. Level 7. No rules. In Saw 3, Detective Allison Carey spent years studying Jigsaw's work. She trusted this main rule. If a victim followed the instructions and endured the pain, there was at least a chance to survive. That belief cracked when she worked Troy's classroom scene and saw the exit door welded shut.
I mean, why did you have to cut the door down?
It was welded shut. Bloody truck couldn't get in here.
Exactly. If the aim of Jigsaw's game was to get out before the went off, then why was the door welded shut?
The welded door proved nobody could have escaped, so Carey realized someone was changing Jigsaw's games into pure executions. That fear followed her home. While Carey tried to unwind in her bathroom, a figure in a pig mask attacked her, gripped her, and killed her. She woke up suspended in the angel trap. A metal frame and harness pressed into her back, and 12 hooked brackets anchored behind her ribs held her off the ground. A timer counted down above her while a glass jar of acid hung in front of her with a key inside. On a TV screen, Jigsaw's recorded message told Carey she had 1 minute to reach into the acid, grab the key, unlock the harness, and free herself before the device tore her open. Everything about the setup made it look like another brutal but fair test.
The device you are wearing is hooked into your ribcage. There is a single key. It is right in front of you. All you have to do is reach in and take it. You will have 1 minute to find a way out.
Because Carey still believed that code, she followed the rules exactly. She pushed her hand into the acid, fully aware it would badly burn her skin. The pain was intense, but she kept going until she pulled the key out, her hand already shaking from the damage. With only seconds left, she shoved the key into the lock onto the harness and turned it, waiting for the release, and the harness didn't move. In that instant, Carey understood the real trick. Someone had sabotaged the mechanism so nothing could happen. She had obeyed every rule and still had no way to survive. The timer hit 0, the metal frame snapped outward, and the trap violently tore her free from the harness in a way that hurt her instantly. Later, the Jigsaw team found Carey still hanging in the device, with the turned but useless lock showing the trap was never winnable.
I believe you want to join your true family, indeed your only family, in death.
These deaths showed how brutal fiction can be. For the next video, Most Disturbing Movie Accidents Ever, uncover the moments on set that were never scripted and ended up far worse.